don't remember asking you a goddamn thing.
Hello, Internet. Welcome back to the podcast that no one asked for. My name is Guy.
And I am Babs.
And no one asked for this. Today, we have a special guest from an undisclosed location in the Big V, Tracy.
Hello there.
How are you?
Hanging out in the Big V.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And we are going to be talking about The Good Place. It recently had its series finale last week, I believe. And we had been debating whether or not, Babs and I had been debating whether or not to podcast about the first 3 seasons before the start of season 4. And ultimately, we just decided that we're going to do one big Good Place Bonanza podcast.
Who doesn't love a bonanza?
And Tracy has been kind enough, as a fan of the show, to join us. And like us, she's no expert.
Fact. Trace fact.
So let's get right into it. And we're going to start where we usually start, with our most memorable moment. However, since we are talking about an entire series of television, we're going to go with our most memorable episode. And Tracy, we'll start with you. What do you got?
Mine was going to have to be the first episode that I ever saw. I saw it by accident as I was flipping through the channels one day. Saw Ted Danson and Kristen Bell and just decided to watch whatever this was that I was watching. And that was an episode that went by the title of Derek.
Derek was your introduction to the show. That's coming in hot if I've ever heard it.
Oh, I had absolutely no idea what was going on, but I kept watching because there were some familiar faces.
So for the listeners, give a brief synopsis of what happens in Derek.
Well, it's all about Derek. It wasn't Maximum Derek. I think Maximum Derek came next in the following season. But essentially, Janet created herself a rebound boyfriend because Eleanor had given her some guidance that that was the way to get over her love. And she, of course, had married Jason in a former life. His, not hers, because she's not a girl. So she creates Derek, and he lives in her void. They live together merrily. And Derek is, Derek.
Yeah, played by Mantzoukas and of Rafi fame, and he's doing his normal,
His thing that he does.
his show up and be the most ridiculous form of a person that can exist. But since he's not a person, it's okay.
It's okay. And so it was really, it's not his first episode, but it was the, kind of the first one where he really, you get to know him a little.
Yes.
And I've loved him ever since. So yeah, no, that's got to be, for me, that gets the top nomination there.
That was before he had a penis.
He still had wind chimes.
He
Yeah,
had wind chimes. Exactly.
which are probably better anyway.
Babs, what's your favorite episode? Most memorable episode, I'm sorry.
I had several that I had to decide between, and I don't know if I can necessarily pick one here, but I'm going to pick the episode where they go to the IHOP.
Chidi sees the time knife.
Chidi sees the time knife. In this episode, they're going there to meet the judge to explain to her how the point system is whack. So they have to meet in a neutral zone, as it were.
It's where all the dimensions in a universe meet.
And Jason makes a very poignant argument about how you have to know people's situations, where he does one of his Jasonisms, where it's like, wow, he actually knows something about the world, even though he's a complete moron.
Yes. Once or twice per season, Jason will jump in with the, I got this. And they're like, no, you're an idiot. And then he ends up saying something that makes sense.
And they're like,
Or he ends up helping the situation.
yeah. And this was one of those times. Chidi sees the time knife, and then Tahani gets some kind of like interdimensional slug wrapped around her neck, which is very funny to me. That was basically that episode. They let the judge actually go to Earth. So the judge actually goes to Earth in that episode, and then she comes back and she's like, they really don't like black ladies. And then she's like, everything sucks and you guys are right. The point system is messed up. So then it leads them on to...
Yeah, when they reboot the medium place and become the alternate, like they're doing a test. It's the whole thing, but yes.
Yes, but it spurs on that plot line.
When you go in the episode, one of the good things I like about The Good Place, that I think they do really well is any other show that's like a sitcom. This is not a traditional sitcom, but it's basically a sitcom, a half-hour comedy. They do just these are the people and these are their adventures, but this was like watching a very long movie. Every time you thought you got into the rhythm of the show, like every 4 episodes, the show changed.
Yep.
It became a different show, just with the same people. But it was all wrapped into the nature of the universe and good and bad and good versus evil and how to determine what the value of anything you did as a person was. But that is so situational that even the show itself changed, and that's what I liked about it. And that was one of the episodes where you're like, where do you even fucking go from here? They went somewhere.
They did, and yeah,
There's a whole nother season. For myself, so I'm trying to decide in my head between the trolley problem, Jeremy Bear Me, and the burrito
those
as
are
my
all
3
good
episodes.
ones. I had thought of the trolley problem was in my top.
Trolley problem was my backup.
Yeah.
Because that's a great episode. It's one of the funnier ones, but for the impact of the overall what the other characters got to do, because I feel like Trolley Problem's not really a good episode for Tahani. But so I'm gonna go with the burrito. They escape from the bad place through the portal to the judge's office in the previous episode, and then it's a bottle episode where they're trying to convince the judge to let them take a test or deem them worthy of going to the actual good place. It's if there were an episode that like someone had never seen this show and they just were like, let me see an episode and kind of see what it's about. The twist is out there now, right? So at first you'd want to be like, go season 1 because it's twist ending. But now I'm like, yeah, it really doesn't make sense to do that anymore. Just go the burrito. You get a gist of who everybody is as a character and how they interact with each other. And it all happens in one room, essentially. And that's a good way to and it's funny and it's sad, like with Tahani and her parents in parts. And it's, it has some heart with Eleanor choosing not to tell them that she passed when they all failed. And then it has Maya Rudolph, who's basically upstaging all the actors on the show.
Yeah. She's
and that's her first episode. So I'm going to go with the burrito. Next, we're going to talk about our background bums and or bosses. Babs, we're going to start with you this time. Do you have a bum or a boss? I can't imagine you have a bum.
The background boss is the judge, played by Maya Rudolph. I just loved her in every episode because she's this all-knowing being.
She could be all-knowing, but she chooses not to be, so she can be more impartial.
So that she can be impartial. However, she still just likes simple things in life, like a good burrito or a good podcast.
She's essentially a basic woman.
Yes.
But she pulls it off because she plays it kind of like different than you'd expect. She's saying all the things a basic person would say, but she says it with so much charm that it works.
Yeah.
And she loves herself a good white dude.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
she was really into Chidi.
She would give it to Chidi also.
Well, this is true. She would.
I'm not going to say she doesn't have a Chidi Bear Me calendar in her office.
I was about to say she's definitely got one.
What about you, Tracy?
Background boss, I'm going to have to go with Vicky.
Oh, I love Vicky.
Vicky.
I really, Vicky kind of comes and goes, but she started out as like the real Eleanor. Then she got demoted and tried to throw the whole thing because she didn't like her role now as the waitress or whatever she was, I forget. And then, by the end of the show, she kind of comes around and she's on the good team. I mean, she's not really fully on board, but towards the end, she's all part of this experiment.
Yes.
She becomes an architect in the end. And I mean, speaking of experiments, she nailed the Tahani experiment towards the end there as well.
Oh, yeah.
That was a little funny pocket of awesome.
Exactly. I really liked her character, the Michael suit, all of the above. I thought any episode that she was around in was made better by her presence.
I was leaning, obviously, towards Maya Rudolph, but I'm going to say Sean. I forget the actor's name, but to have to be the embodiment of basically, he's the stand-in for the devil, essentially.
Yeah.
In the show.
Yep.
Although since it's not the Christian version of hell. There is no devil, but he is in charge of the bad place. It's very one note, but it's one note in the best way for most of the seasons. And then this last season, when the whole thing that turns on him not wanting it to end, he just was like, I don't want to win. I just want to continue to antagonize you.
Right.
And that's such a terrible person thing to say that it fit his character. Like, it wasn't like a cop-out. It was like, oh, that's kind of adorable. They made the one-noteness of his performance work in a different way in the end. So I'm going to give it to Sean, who's also the husband from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Great acting. I don't know his name, and I don't do research.
Yeah, he's the captain's husband.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to say I agree on the Sean as a character. The manner in which he always was just so, not serious necessarily, but just so like nonchalant about things like, you know, butthole spiders and penis flattening, and you know, and just he really stuck to his character of, you know, running the bad place, and you know, when he snuck one of his demons in, you know, to the revised experiment, the old lady whose name I've forgotten, that was just like, you know,
Oh, yeah.
peppermint.
The guy that was always trying to work out in a different skin suit.
Yes.
Yeah. And I loved when he was explaining the plot of the Entourage movie to Shakespeare as torture.
That's a good one.
That is amazing writing right there. That's just good stuff. And then Shakespeare finally made it to the good place in the end, and then chose to move on. So it was. I like the little things, attention to detail in the show as a whole, but I love me some dry wit, and Sean was coming with it with fire. No pun intended. Moving on. It's time to give a special shout out. My special shout out is gonna go to the visual effects. They have to do some fun things in this show in terms of with special effects that you normally don't have to worry about in a sitcom. And it never really took me out of the story, even when there was like the episode where they found out they'd been tortured and they were definitely in the bad place. And it's because they saw the fire demon in the alley with Glenn. And stuff like that can really take you out of a story. So shout out to the special effects. And when they're in the IHOP, that was cool looking.
Yeah, they didn't do a lot of special effects. It was limited, but when they did it like...
They had the giant giraffes and the flying shrimp and stuff like that. They had a whole bunch of weird stuff.
And then like the sinkhole in the restaurant, and then that was in the first season.
I was definitely about to bring up the giant shrimp. I mean, that actually, you know, when we were talking about episodes, that was between the Derek and the trolley experiment. That was kind of another one that was up there. The early on when you're just like, what in the world is happening right now? Oh yeah,
the trolley problem was a great visual effects with them just throwing buckets of blood on Chidi.
Poor Chidi. And
then there's Derek at the end, who is both part of the universe and apart from the universe. I don't know what the hell was happening.
Yeah, he was all. I mean, he was again maximum Derek.
Completely self-actualized,
entity
being rebooted 1,000 times.
He's eventually going to be Q from Star Trek. I don't know. Babs, what about you? Who's your special shout out?
I have to special shout out the character that I identify with the most, and that would be Mindy St. Clair in The Medium Place, who stayed in the medium place even when she could have. In the very end, she decides to try to go to the good place, but she still was in the medium place for the longest of times, just masturbating
and rebooting Derek
and hoping for some cocaine.
But Mindy St. Clair, probably the hero of the story, because without the medium place, they would have never figured out all of how many times they've been rebooted. They would have just known they're in the bad place every time, like they always did. But they wouldn't have figured out the reboot thing because she kept tracking all the ideas, and she also taped them over her Cannonball Run 2 VHS. Which, fuck you guys in that show. Cannonball Run 2 is an amazing piece of cinema.
No, it is not.
And everyone should watch it now. Especially if it comes with like a Kristen Bell sex tape at the end. That'd be...
And I gotta say too, with Mindy, I think she figured it out long before everyone else. Not figured it out, meaning good places and bad places, but like she just found herself in a happy little medium place, and she, quite frankly, made the best of it. I
Yeah.
think the only thing bad about it was that she was alone, and even that, don't think she really cared most
She
of the time.
kind of was cool with being alone.
I live alone, I masturbate a lot, and sometimes random people stop by. I'm gonna garden naked. I mean, yeah, that sounds lovely, quite frankly.
I know.
Anyhow,
Well, since Barbara brought up, though, I do want to shift slightly. Since Barbara brought up the character that most resonates, I have to say, I think I most resonate with Eleanor, from the perspective of she's fun and ridiculous and has a great life, and then meets a dude and becomes boring and terrible. Even though I really don't know anything about that, I just feel like for some reason that speaks to me. So I just want to throw that out. Not really a shout out, but Barbara's comment about resonating reminded me.
What would Kant say?
and now we're going to give out the most important award of this entire podcast, and that is the most valuable performer. We're going to limit it to Team Cockroach. So Janet, Michael, Chidi, Eleanor, Tahani, or Jason. And Babs, who is your most valuable performer?
I hope you guys. Well, maybe you pick the same person as me. What is the actress's name? Darcy something? Janet. I saw some people dressed up. I saw one lady dressed up as Janet on Halloween, and it was the most exciting moment of my whole day, maybe, aside from the drinking. But Janet, that actress, did so many things. There was a whole episode where everyone was in her void, and she was playing all the other characters as Janet. Like, she's amazing. She is... I was trying to figure out how
She also did Bad Janet. And,
She did Bad Janet.
And Neutral Janet.
And Neutral Janet.
And Disco Janet.
And Disco Janet. She did so many versions. Like, of all the non-creature, not a girl, non-organic, all-knowing life forms, like, she is in my top 3.
As a character that exists on television, that is in my top 25. And from nowhere. Like, I didn't know I wanted Janet until I got Janet.
She took Alexa to a whole new level.
Agreed.
I think her name is Darcy Garden, but...
Darcy something. I can't remember.
That sounds right.
And now, Tracy, give us your most valuable performer.
So I had narrowed it down to 2, with Darcy/Janet/Bad Janet being 1. But I'm not choosing the other one because Barbara chose that one.
Oh, why do I have a backup?
I really got it down to, I've got to go with Jason Mendoza and pick Manny. I have to say that because the first couple of episodes, I couldn't stand any time Jason said anything. Well, a couple of episodes after he spoke. And I understood that was his character and he was being exactly who he was supposed to be, but I find it so maddening.
Bortles.
I just absolutely could not stand any time he had anything to say. And by the time we got to the end, when he found out, not the end, but when he found out Blake Bortles, wasn't on the team anymore, Janet had to break that to him, and it took about a half a second before he didn't care.
Right. Nick
now
Foles won a Super
Nick
Bowl.
Foles- yeah, exactly. He's like, we're going to win the Super Bowl!
It was, yeah.
Yeah, the Jaguars thing was one of the finest minor plot points of the show.
It was so fantastic. And then, one of the episodes in the last season where they kind of like broke the fourth wall a little bit because they made a comment about his jawline, which of course is like going around like, real life social media. So yeah, I just thought, and then his character in the end, he and his dad played the perfect game and he was ready to go on. And I thought it was a nice, happy little ending for him. And so he's got to be my MVP.
I mean, Pillboy, shout out Pillboy, shout out Dance Dance Resolution, shout out Donkey Doug. Those are not people that should matter in my life at all for any reason, but they made that whole thing work.
I mean, Jacksonville.
I think it can't be downplayed, his effect on other characters. I mean, when he was helping Tiny give her money away, when he helped Chidi feel better about how much more Eleanor had done in her life, and he even saved them all when he recognized Bad Janet. Him and Eleanor, all their like high fives for shit that like only like people with like a
Just
a
trash
certain
people.
type of humor. I'll say that. I won't say trash people. A certain type of humor we get. I love that. He's the one that brought Team Cockroach together when he gave Michael advice in season 2. And Chidi and Tahani never ever guessed they were in a bad place, but Jason got one.
Right.
It's true.
So my most valuable performer was going to be Jason unless someone picked him. And now I'm going to switch to Chidi. While I liked what Manny did with Jason, and I also liked what William Jackson Harper, I guess, did with Chidi. In my mind, it's fun to play Michael, Janet, Tahani, and Eleanor.
Yeah.
To be the buzzkill of the group in Chidi, it's not fun to play. It's not like I got to show up and be nervous about everything and be explaining ethics to people. You're just like, you read the script and you're just like, what do I do with this episode? You're like, oh, ethics, cool. I explain to someone why they're a terrible person. Like, it just sounds like this is not any fun. And then they didn't try to make him cooler.
No, he was always just Chidi. He was who he was.
He was just Chidi. And so for the fact that like he never got to have the amount of fun that everyone else was having.
But he never wanted to have. He wanted his just doing a scavenger hunt in his fucking library was fun to him. So
his reaction to Chidi's reaction to things is some of the most funny moments in the show. The trolley problem, even him yelling bees while she's saying it's a good place. Him and when he had his breakdown in the Jeremy Bearimy episode.
Oh yeah, and he's like
he was making
chili.
Chidi chili.
Oh, I forgot about that one. That's a good one.
It's amazing. To like the thing with the guy in the boots. There's so much, and it's just like it was always like tortured Chidi is his performance, and so I'm gonna give it to him. And also, like, you know, he's one of the people that I'd never seen anything else like before this, or like I didn't remember him from anything else. Every other person from The Good Place, I recognized them when I saw him, and so like shout out to someone that can go from like I've never heard of this dude to someone that could be pivotal in one of the funniest shows of the last couple of years.
And watching him in a commercial during the commercial breaks of the show where he's completely not Chidi was also interesting. I don't know if you watched it with or without commercials, but...
Without.
I just have regular old cable, you know.
The big V.
It's the little V.
Let's go to the most anticlimactic part of this podcast, which is the rating. And I am going to rate it as rewatchable, seeing as I've seen every season except this current one. I've seen every episode at least twice of the entire show, including this recent season. Barbara, what do you say?
I say not only is it rewatchable, but I may be able to even say that It's Always Sunny. I can just watch any episode out of order. Now that I've watched the whole season, I think that if you're going to watch the show and watch it through its whole character arc, but now I can go back and just rewatch an episode that I like. So that's how rewatchable it is to me. Talking about some of our favorite episodes makes me want to go back and just watch those ones.
Tracy, what you got?
I completely agree with Barbara. Not only rewatchable, but again, coming into it midstream was a little weird. Yeah, I know it was early on, but like I said, the one episode that I saw first, I was so very confused. But yeah, now that I've seen them all, so same as Barbara, a couple of the things that you guys just brought up, I'm kind of like, I don't know, I'm going to Netflix that later because now I want to watch it again.
Yeah, that definitely helped when I saw that it was on Netflix. I'm like, oh, I can watch the whole first season before the next episode. And
Yep, did the same.
That definitely got me through it, for sure. Like, I have, sitcom-wise, maybe like 4 or 5 shows that I can watch at any point in time, and I do. And The Good Place has started becoming one of them over the last 2 years. Like, I'll just, before I go to bed, throw on an episode of The Good Place, watch it, and fall asleep. There you have it, folks. We triple stamp the double stamp of rewatchable for The Good Place. Can't recommend it enough. If you have 22 minutes, season 1, episode 1, fire it up. And if you don't know about that, fire up the burrito episode.
Fire up the old penis flattener. It's a forking great show.
If not, the bees with teeth will come for you. Thank you again, Tracy, for joining us.
Thank you again for having me.
And if you were thinking that this was a waste of your time, remember,
No one asked for this.